even said in the past, like, I love when people question my decisions because it gives me the opportunity to build credibility.
Mhm.
So, like, oh my gosh, Bree's implementing another technology, and they're like, oh, this is going to happen. I'm like, just trust me.
All right, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Straight Talk Podcast. Today we have a very special guest with us. We have the CEO of Elite Roofing, based out of Aurora, Colorado. We have Miss Brie Reis. Thank you for joining us today, Brie. Very excited to get to speak with you today, get to pick your brain a little, and yeah, get some insight from a very successful business owner. And I'm just very excited to get to sit down with you today.
Yeah, you too, Dylan.
All
Thanks for
right,
having me.
yes. So yeah, just another little breakdown, kind of how the podcast is going to go today. We're going to let the viewers get to know you a little, get some background on yourself, and then we're going to jump into a few different trends that are shaping the roofing industry right now and how companies are or how they should be handling this in order to set themselves up to capitalize down the line. So yeah,
Okay.
kind of just getting right into it. Could you give us a little bit of background on yourself, maybe how you got into the industry and what you've been able to do to help shape Elite Roofing into the company it is today?
Yeah, so I'd like to say I grew up at Elite. So it's really, been my entire adult career that I've worked at this organization. I started as the admin assistant in 2010, and I was like 22, 23 years old. So it's a family business, and my brother started it. And so we've had a lot of family work there over the years. So pretty much other than swinging a hammer, I've been in pretty much every role inside the organization. So we've been blessed in the instance that we grew pretty quickly. And so we had to evolve with that. And so, I went from admin to production assistant to production manager to operations manager to CEO in 2019. So it was pretty quick. I think we were going 30% year over year. We have had some years with no hail and things like that. I don't know exactly what trends you're going to get into, but that's a big thing for the roofing industry is natural disasters, hail, wind, hurricanes, things like that is a driver of our business. So we've had some low years and things like that. So we've always been 30% year over year, but that's really how I got here. And I would say that's probably true for, most women in the industry is that like we love somebody that is in the industry already. That's how we get into roofing. Most roofing owners are like either they were really great salesmen or they really great laborers at some point and, decided to start a business. And so that's kind of where I got here from
Mhm.
originally. Yeah.
Now, I have a question. So, like, I've started working with my brother as well. What are
Mhm.
some challenges that you've kind of seen, like working with family, and like, is there maybe some pros and cons to
Yeah.
that? What have you kind of noticed from that perspective, really?
Yeah, I think there's pros and cons to working with any human being, but
Mhm.
especially family. I think my best advice for working with family is that you have to be focused on the organization. What is best for the organization? And if everybody that's family is in the organization has that mindset, then you can be very, very, very successful because you really already understand how to work with that person. You understand their strengths, you understand their weaknesses. And if you can get to a point where you can start to leverage those things in each other instead of competing,
Mhm.
okay, then you can be I mean, unshakable. It's the reason why a husband and a wife, um, like a husband and a wife that owns a business together, I think I forget the percentage. And so I'm going to say it wrong. I'm just going to throw a number out. I'm not sure that this is it.
Uh,
It's like 30% more likely of it being successful is because if you know how to work with your partner, your business has a much better chance of being successful. So we've been through a lot of ups and downs. We've had a lot of family work for us over the years, and they haven't all sustained. We actually had to fire our mom at one point. So
yeah,
that was a
that's
whole thing. But it was actually beautiful. We let her go and she's still on our payroll, of course, but like we let her go and she went and started this little bookkeeping company and then she sold it and retired and it like all worked out the way it was supposed to work out, but it's just like you got to be that focused on the business. Like if I have to fire my mom, I'm going to fire my mom because that's how important the business is. But then on Sunday, we're still going to have family dinner.
yeah, you got to be able to separate that, personal and professional life. All right. Well, thanks for
Correct.
that little background. And yeah, we'll just kind of get right into like the theme of today's podcast, which I'll kind of refresh you on it. It's the three biggest trends driving roofing innovation and how to capitalize on them for years to come. So the three trends that we're going to be talking about today, like the common ones that I saw whenever doing my research, I saw sustainability, technology, and then customer experience. So kind of diving into trend one, sustainability. It's a huge driving factor in the roofing industry right now. People want roofs that, or they want roofs and products that, are going to last. They don't want something that they're going to have to replace, in the next couple of years. They want something that, is reliable and that can, stay forever. So when researching sustainability, there's a common factor that I saw continually popping up, and it kept mentioning going green. Now, what does that mean to you, like in a roofing context, whenever your company or consumer is they want to go green? What does that mean?
So we're Elite Roofing and Solar, so we do sustainable energy, but we do not do sustainable roofing in regards to going green. And so let me give you a little bit of context.
Hmm.
So the city and county of Denver, okay, that's in our market. They did at one point have a green mandate on roofs. And so what it meant was that if you're going to replace your roof, you are going to have to do some type of um, environment friendly, um, sustainable roofing system. So you basically are building a garden on top of a roof. But I want you to think about that for 1 second. Just pause and think about building a garden that you have to water on top of a roof.
Now that's
So it's a really great concept. I think sustainability in regards to materials and thing like that is a much more trending thing than actually going green. I think there was a couple years where going green was big, but even the city and county of Denver has backed away from that mandate because the cost associated with it and the management and the maintenance associated with it. I mean, how do you find a leak in a roof that has a irrigation system on it?
yeah,
So it's just the logistics involved is very, very challenging. So even the city and county of Denver have backed off of the mandate, and they've gone more into a realistic space. But when you're looking at sustainable products, like metal is a very, very sustainable product. Metal lasts a very, very long time. Tile roofs are a very, very sustainable product. Shingles, that's going to be your least sustainable product. I mean, they're very susceptible to wind, hail, any type of weather,
yeah.
really is going to, break down an asphalt roof over 20 years. So you're looking at a new roof at least every 20, 25 years on shingles. But those other products, super sustainable. And you're right, people are like wanting to have more sustainable roofs. There's a cost associated, obviously. But yeah.
I'm
The
just
green, I'm glad you brought that up. Nobody ever asked me about green roofing. It's hard, it's challenging. My
have
hat's
you
off
se-
to any company that does it.
have you seen, like, I know you said Denver itself was pushing kind of for that eco-friendly thing. Have you seen like customers kind of requesting more eco-friendly stuff, or is it really more the cities that kind of want to do
Yeah,
that?
yeah, that's been my experience is it's mostly been government down, not business out. Because say you own $100,000 or $1 million building
Hmm.
and you want to replace your roof, and now you have to replace that roof, and it's going to be 3 times the cost that it would be to put down, let's say, an EPDM or a TPO roof. Like, why would a business make that decision?
Yeah. Like, are you
You
asking me?
know, No, I mean,
Oh, okay.
kind of rhetorical, but like, why would a business make that decision? That would be, you'd have to have a really strong core belief system
Yeah.
in the environment to make that decision. If without that core belief, in most businesses are margin focused more
Hmm.
than eco focused. So nobody wanted to do it, and the people that did, it was rare, and then everybody else was feeling forced into it.
So for a roofing company that wants to build off sustainability and like kind of incorporate that into its brand, what would you say is the smartest like first step to take into getting that as a part of your brand image?
Yeah, I would say first and foremost, they need to be in a market where they have an audience for it.
Hmm.
So to make sure that they are located in an area, a market that would want to purchase really sustainable roofs. But I mean, goodness, I think there's so many avenues these days, social media and just like the website and the way that you put your business forward online is going to speak to those very, very things. Your ability to control your SEO and where that points you, I think is really big too. And I think that's a huge differentiator. And if a company wanted to step into that space, they would really pull themselves apart from the pack because there's just not a lot of roofing companies, quite frankly, with the knowledge capacity or capability to pull something like off like that, where that was their main source of revenue.
Do you think that there's a competitive advantage that comes with like pushing sustainability, or if that's like, oh, like we bring like, we're more reliable, we bring this aspect to the table, would you say that creates a competitive advantage, or do you say like it's kind of brushed under the rug? People are looking for other aspects that are more important to them.
I think I think it could create a competitive advantage because there's not many companies that could do it and
Yes.
do it well. So if that's something you could do well, I do think it could create a competitive advantage. Um, but at the same time that I'm saying, like, you really would need to find the right market for that.
Yeah, it's pretty niche, you would say.
Yeah, it's pretty niche. Even like I think about, have you been to Disney World? And I will
I
next
actually,
time
yeah,
go back to a point.
I just went like last month. It's kind of funny.
Okay. Next time you go, just look at the roofs and you won't appreciate them the way that I appreciate them.
Yeah,
Okay.
probably
But
not, but
you will probably not, but you'll still be amazed. Like the roofs in Disney World, they're beautiful. They're very specific to the theme of each building. And,
mhm.
and I just like look at them in awe. And I think about like whoever that contractor is, like they are an artist, not a roofing contractor,
Yeah.
an engineer artist like that they can put these roofing systems together. And that's like so niche. And they probably pay a pretty penny for the installation of those roofs. So like I think like that would be a specific market for a specific roofing contractor. But the bulk of us are not going to be able to pull off a Disney World roof.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of like the roof on the castle, and I don't know how.
Yeah.
I feel like, yeah, that's got to be something
Yeah.
pretty tough
Hmm.
to work with. But
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
think
kind of.
that,
Oh yeah, go ahead.
no, you go ahead. Go ahead. You go.
I was just gonna, transition into like the next trend if you want. But if you had like a
Yeah,
last
go.
point you wanted. Okay, yeah.
No, it's
So
fine.
I mean, kind of building off competitive advantage, something that I know is established for competitive advantage is technology. And that's the second trend we're talking about. So technology is transforming not only the roofing industry, but every industry really in general. It's making these companies more data driven, more efficient, and more customer friendly, whether that be, through AI or new software or whatever it may be. So yeah, just kind of building off technology. What are some tools or innovations that you've seen in, the past couple of years that have had the biggest effect on your company?
Yeah, we've been pretty tech forward from the beginning. We're pretty young leadership team, but I mean, I think technology has transformed the roofing industry, just like many other industries. I'll give a really small, silly example, and it's not even in the last 3 or 4 years. It's probably in the last 10. But we used to draw our roofs, which is actually, if you think about it, pretty dangerous to do. And so now through technology, you have satellite pictures and they fly these planes and take pictures all over the country. And so now we have aerial measurements where we can grab all the measurements of a home from a report that's ordered. It's like a really big deal. I mean, you just can't like put a number on it, like how much lives has this saved, people falling off roofs trying to measure a roof or whatever the case may be. But I think aerial measurements was a big thing. Nobody draws roofs well anymore. I mean, old school roofers probably still draw roofs and they probably do it really well. But any young roofing company is aerial measurements 100%. We're functioning in all CRMs now.
Hmm.
For the most part, like our financial softwares, all of our softwares integrate now. That's been pretty huge. That's hard for the roofing company or roofing industry, actually. Like pushing roofing companies into integration is a challenge. It's like something that's over the head of a lot of roofing owners. Um,
Yeah.
so I know that that's an opportunity, maybe not for me, but for you.
Uh-huh.
Um, So they have the software, but the software doesn't talk to each other, and they don't want to figure out how to make it do such. Um, so I think technology is absolutely, I mean, within the next 10 years, there probably won't be a roofing company on spreadsheets still.
Yeah, kind of building off like your point of like that, how like maybe like no one draws their stuff anymore, and
Mhm.
that's maybe that's a thing of the past. I wrote down, a lot of roofers I would assume give pushback to adopting these new tools, or at least they did at first. Like they kind of were iffy, I don't know if I want to switch to these new, I don't know if I want this internet tool drawing my roof or drawing this up. How were you able to encourage your team to kind of buy into these new methods? What methods were kind
Yeah,
of effective for you to getting everyone to get on board with that?
yeah, it's a good question. I've been actually asked that question before. I think some of that goes back to just being a good leader and having a team that trusts you to make decisions like that. And I've even said in the past, like, I love when people question my decisions because it gives me the opportunity to build credibility.
Mhm.
So, like, oh my gosh, Bree's implementing another technology, and they're like, oh, this is going to happen. And I'm like, just trust me. And then, like, 6 months later, they come in my office and they're like, this was a really good idea. I'm like, I know, right? So the next time I want to implement something into the organization, like I'm going to get less kickback because I built credibility with the naysayers. So it's like good. I think it's good for your employees to question the things that you do because it provides an opportunity for you to um, show them that you are, to be followed, like that it's okay to follow you, like that you got their best interest at heart. And I think there's also just a part of it that it's like, okay, like you got to get on board with this. So I think there's definitely two avenues to it. I think people are less apprehensive towards technology, especially my organization. Um, but we have a sister company called the Roofing Academy, and so we do consulting for other roofing companies. And I do face a lot of, I have to convince a lot of people that technology is the answer. Connected technology is the answer to a lot of their problems. It is challenging to convince them of that because they feel so out of control
Yeah.
when they don't understand it.
Well, yeah, and then kind of just transitioning into the last trend of the episode, customer experience. Now, customers today, they expect more than just you showing up and getting them a roof. They want transparency, they want it done quickly, they want speed, and they want exceptional service as well. So, what shifts have you seen in the homeowner and client expectations? And you could build off some of the points I just made, or maybe there's some other examples that you could think of. But yeah, how have you seen expectations from your clientele shift over the years?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a really good question, and it's that's like one of our favorite words at Elite is customer experience. My staff comes ask me a question and I don't give them the answer. I say, well, how's it going to impact the customer experience? And then they answer their own question.
Mm.
So it really is a driver in how we run our businesses and the decisions that we make inside of it. I think that you're correct. I think COVID um, did some strange things in our industry, at least. I'm sure in
Hmm.
every industry across the world, really. But for us, bringing people home has been a little bit of a challenge, and we've had to use technology to create additional automation and things like that. Where before, you know, it was rare that somebody was home during our builds, and now
Hmm.
it's rare that they're not. So it just changed a lot of the ways that we had to communicate with people that are now at their homes during the process because, roofing is construction. You see your roof getting torn apart and there's trash and there's, it's a construction site for a day,
Yeah.
so there's just some things that we've had to do to cater to the visibility now of the project, not just someone leaves, they have their old roof and then they come home and they have this new beautiful roof and they just are seeing the end product. They get to see all the destruction in between. So that we've had to create a lot of automation around and, cater and hold hands a little bit
Yeah.
with homeowners.
Um, yeah, how important, like I'd say trust is big in that, factor. They see you just destroying their house and then you got to be like, look, I promise it's going to turn out all right. how important do you think that trust is when it comes to scaling your business and fostering these relationships with your customers?
Yeah, I think that trust is really important. And I think you build that through consistency. And I don't mean necessarily, I mean, obviously, consistency with your communication with your client, but consistency with your staff. My sales staff I think I have an average tenure on my sales staff of 8 years. Like these are seasoned guys that know how to have those conversations. And if you're turning your staff all the time, you're not going to have people in your organization that understand one, your company's culture, your company's character, and then how to relay those things to a client. So you need to be able to have a sustainable staff in order to have healthy customer experience for sure. So I know that's been a big part for us where we've been able to be successful.
Yeah, so it really starts at the top, kind of trickles through the employees, and then that rubs off on the clients. So yeah, I
Mhm.
think that's a great system y'all have in place. And then that's really all I have when it comes to the three trends that we're talking about today. But some kind of closing questions and you know transitioning into kind of the future. What do you think the biggest challenge roofing companies will face over the next 3 to 5 years is? What do you think is something that's going to be arising that's kind of a challenge for the industry as a whole?
Yeah. Our biggest threat to the roofing industry is insurance companies.
Mm.
So, um, we've over the last 20 years shifted to a model where we rely and negotiate very heavily with the insurance company to get paid. And insurance company is they're a big dog. And so we've been kind of in this dog fight with them for 20 years. And I believe that they are like, flea get off my back. They're like at a point where they're like, okay, like we're not big. We don't have any litigators, we don't have anybody,
Yeah.
fighting the good fight for the roofers. So I think, they're doing little things like going to a percentage deductibles. So what that means is instead of a $2,000 deductible on damage to your home, you're looking at like 2 to 3% of your home value.
Hmm.
So you pretty much, in some instances, like we've seen some deductibles that are $20,000. So, that's not pocket change. So somebody can come up with 2 grand, somebody can come up with $2,500.
Oh.
Coming up with $20,000 is much harder. So we're seeing insurance companies pull out of certain markets, things like that. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think we'll adapt. We've flooded the market with roofers since this happened, and the ones that are not great are going to die.
Mhm.
Potentially and eventually. And those of us that really can shift around and focus on maybe other levers, commercial roofing, solar, and kind of back a little bit out of that residential insurance circle. Some of us have already tried or started doing things like that, but I think the insurance companies are absolutely our biggest threat over the next 3 to 5 years.
And then last kind of question, what piece of advice do you have to share with roofing leaders in order to stay ahead of, shifts like this? What's your biggest piece of advice that you would give to maybe like someone that's starting a new roofing company or, maybe someone that's not as, up to date as you? What would you say is like the biggest piece of advice you could give to them?
My biggest piece of advice is it's going to kind of seem self-serving, but like get a coach because
Mhm.
making the transition from employee to owner it's a completely different thing. And you're now a fiduciary and you're responsible and you have to be able to have vision and see the organization from sale to collections and the way all those things interact and behave with one another. So I just say get a coach, get somebody that you can ask questions to or that has been where you're at and help you walk through it and like you're not alone. I think is one of the most important things, like piece of advice that I could give somebody in any industry really, but especially in roofing because most of them do not know how to run businesses.
Yeah. So just don't be scared to ask for help. I love that idea. And I love that, I think that's really useful for anyone to hear. A lot of people are
Mhm.
scared to go out and reach out to other people and say, look, I might not be the best at this. What should I do? People are scared to do that. So I think, yeah, that's a really good, thing for someone to build off of. And yeah, I really
Mhm.
appreciate you for sitting down with us today. I know it's kind of been a process to get to this point, but I'm happy we're, able to finally get this podcast done. I really am happy I got to pick your brain today. I think you gave us some really insightful stuff, and I hope the viewers see the same thing that I got to hear. I'm really happy with this interview. And yeah, is there any last remarks you'd like to leave with the people watching today?
No, I just thanks for having me. And yeah, I hope somebody hears it that needed to hear something in it. So
Absolutely, yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank y'all for tuning in to another episode of Straight Talk. If you or anyone else you know thinks you could bring some value to this conversation for another episode, don't hesitate to reach out to us via our socials or our website posted down below. Until then, we'll see you next time.